Hello and welcome to episode 228 of the FPL Surgery podcast. My name's Rich and we're recording on the 18th of October 2021. We're recording just before and it will be slightly during the Arsenal against Crystal Palace game. But thank you to everyone, obviously, that's joined us instead of watching that game. And as always, I'm here with Dave. Hi, Dave.
Yeah, you're very welcome. I wasn't wanting to watch that game, but you know we've got to stream. We got to we got to do what we got to do. No, it's the best possible game. I think I have literally no one in there, so thank you very much. And yeah, thanks everyone for joining us. Headlines for today are the premium strikers, of course, again for the billionth time we're going to keep talking about this. Best 5.5 to 8.0 midfielders excluding Rafinha, lovely exclude, and captaincy for game week 9. There you go, nice and easy. But before we get into all that, Rich, we have a wonderful guest.
We do a regular surgery guest as well. He's got 3 top 10k finishes, 2 are in the top 2.5k, and he's a wizard on spreadsheets. So welcome to the podcast. I don't know to call you Jossy or John. I'll probably flip between them, but welcome, John.
Either will do. Cheers, Rich. Cheers, Dave. Thanks for having us back on. I think I've been on with every lineup of the surgery
That's amazing.
Hosts. And this time YouTube. So yeah, great to be back. Always a pleasure.
Consistency, that's what that is. Like, you're just continuously good and therefore an amazing guest, and we'll have you on every year if we can.
Yeah, even when the co-hosts change.
Amazing. If you're new here on YouTube, thank you very much for joining us. If you're here all the time, thank you very much for coming back. And if you're listening and you want a wee sneak peek to see how we look, you can come and find us on YouTube. Just search FPL Surgery. And we've got some stats to start with, Rich. Is that right?
We do, yeah. So obviously, Pingreen last week mocked us for sorting by shots. So I've amended it this week, and I've sorted the game week 8 stats by expected goal involvement. So
well done.
Top of the pile is, as expected, Bobby Firmino.
As expected.
And then we've got Daka in second, Salah, Perez, and then obviously Harry Kane. He rounds out the top 5. John, if we come to you, did anything stand out for you this week? And I know I didn't show you this graph before, but were there any standout things for game week 8?
Looking at these, I mean, obviously, and I saw Bobby with the eye test. To be honest, he wasn't setting the world alight earlier in the game. I think some of his passing was wayward, but he's getting himself in the right position. Now, the XG is high because, as you probably saw, he finished a number of shots up almost on the goal line. So he's getting those poaching opportunities. So he's looking good. And it does worry me for Jota prospects. Other than that, I mean, Salah's there all the time. Bowen's a sly little one who keeps chipping away. He keeps popping up on the stats charts, but probably not delivering enough. And I think we've got enough West Ham assets in our teams as it is. But nothing really. Redmond, God, he very rarely appears.
We're getting to the dregs now.
Showed his face there. Yeah, absolutely.
It's nice to see. I'm sure you're glad to see it. That there's obviously the 3 Liverpool players you mentioned. I mean, it really was about Liverpool this week, and I think a lot of this episode is going to be about Liverpool. Obviously, the slightly tougher upcoming fixtures. Well, probably tougher. But you've obviously been the standout team when it comes to FPL.
Yeah, it's good to see Bobby back because I think 12 months, 18 months, he hasn't been the same player. He hasn't scored enough goals, and Mane and Salah have kept us afloat. But he hasn't even. Firmino was always seen as that player who made the system work, who enabled Salah and Mane to do their magic. But I don't even think he'd been doing that for the previous 12 months or so. But he definitely seems to be in a good vein of form now and getting his he's full of confidence. So yeah, I've got high hopes for Bobby.
Yeah,
Nice.
it's whenever I think of Firmino, false nine, he's the first name that comes into my head. Like just the way that the way that I think the problem is that I would never be able to go for him ever. Like as an FPL asset to think about bringing him in again after the amount of times that he's burned me personally and most other people who have ever brought him in the last 3 years or something. Like, and then for him to do it on a day where most people own the other striker that they have it's probably hurt a lot of people. Thankfully I got rid of him, Jota, the day before, but still, like it's kind of annoying because Firmino is so much more expensive and Jota always looks good and never scores and stuff. So it's kind of bittersweet that Firmino's back because it means that now Jota's not an option anymore, really, especially when he comes in and absolutely outclasses Jota last 4 games or something. Do you know what I mean? Like he's now got more points with 3 less games played or something.
I thought there was, not to take anything away from him, but I thought it was one of the luckiest big point hauls that I've ever seen. I mean, the combined, he had that lucky part with the offside. There was, I think the combined shot, total of the shots that he took must have been about, 5 or 6 yards.
Yeah.
But yeah, should we get into our game weeks though?
Yeah, let's do it.
Should we start with Sharp John? Now, like we mentioned, we are partway through. We still got Arsenal to play, and they're playing Palace tonight. But how's it going so far, John?
I'm pretty happy, to be fair. I was off the back of an awful week last week, plummeted a little bit, but only down to 54k. I actually brought in Cancelo before a ball was kicked over the international break because I brought him in for Omo Bamadelli. And I was confident that even if I was a bit threadbare, Omo Bamadelli, losing him was getting me an extra player in the team. So I brought Cancelo in before he rose. Then right the night before deadline, just before Foden rose, I decided to drop out Jota for Foden, pick for a hit, which thankfully just paid net fair, and I think now I would want rid of Jota. But overall, I mean, Salah and a defensive rear guard action has saved my week.
You must have been actually quite glad that it was Firmino that got the points then and not Jota. Or that could have really backfired.
I have to be honest. I mean, I was glad he got the second goal because I thought from the point he got the second goal, they'll leave him on for the hat trick. I didn't want to get the hat trick too early because that Watford side, if he'd have come on with 20, 30 minutes, he could have had a brace. I mean, it was a really poor performance by Watford. So I was nervous. And I'll be honest, I made the move because, I think we'll get into that later.
Spoilers.
I think we'll talk
spoilers. Next week's transfers.
No, the rationale around making the transfer.
Oh, okay.
We'll talk about that a little bit later.
Cool. Yeah, I think we got a question on that from someone. But Dave, if we go over your team quickly, you did something crazy, clever. I don't know.
Well, it seems clever now, but it was crazy at the time. Or maybe it's crazy now, I don't know. I think more people were annoyed at me for captaining De Bruyne and then bringing him in. But I mean, it's Burnley and they always score 5 goals. And I know Salah's been playing amazing, but I didn't expect Firmino to get a hat trick and for them to get 5 goals. And there was only 2 points in it, so I was quite pleased with it. I did a -8. Brought in Walker, Cancelo, De Bruyne, and Mbeumo, and took out Torres, Jota, Shaw, and Trent. Because I just wanted 3 City, and this was the easiest way to do it. And also Torres is the reason why I've been playing with 10 men for like 5 weeks in a row or something. I think it is actually 3 weeks I have had 10 men on the pitch because of someone or other. But yeah, so I did the big hits. Cancelo went well, De Bruyne went well, and Mbeumo hit the post twice. Walker didn't play, but he's gonna eventually come back. I didn't know who to go for with the Laporte or Stones, as I did it the night before, and I wasn't too happy with going for either of them because I wasn't too sure. So I just decided to go for Walker instead, and it turned out it didn't matter. But to be fair though, Diaz was also benched, so I wasn't too happy. It just feels like they gave a rest to their players that spend more time on the pitch So I wasn't too bothered about that. And then finally, Cody's coming off my bench with a cheeky wee goal, which is awesome. So I think my points total will be like 74, but I'm going to say
8.
so 69. Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazingly. And what about yourself, Rich?
I was just going to say, with your one, it could have gone, it could have gone really, really bad. Does it not worry you not having Trent?
Nope. Nah.
No?
He hasn't
Okay.
really been doing the much. I mean, he has been attacking, and it's not fair to say that he hasn't been, but it seems like their goals aren't coming from like crosses in. It's more like Salah masterclasses and little 1-2s in the box and stuff. And Trent is obviously going to be someone who's coming back into my team at some point. But I just wanted 3 City for this run, and then I'll probably get him back a little bit later. But he hasn't really rose in price or anything too much. Like he's still there. I'm just not too
He
bothered.
nearly scored from open play against Watford.
I know. Hilariously. But he didn't, and so what I said was technically correct.
Because I haven't got Trent, and I was petrified. And during that game, I knew I'd made a mistake removing him. Like, pretty much straight away. Obviously, partly that's because Watford is so bad.
Ah, it's Watford.
But but you got away with it this week, and I like the De Bruyne pick. So
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And I got away with not having Jota, because if he had scored a hat trick, I'd have been raging.
Yeah, you both would.
All right, your turn, Rich, Mr. 53.
Yeah, so I'm actually on. So Connor Cody scored, didn't he? So I've got 60 points. Is that 60 points? 53 plus 7. Yeah. I've got 60 points from 10. Unfortunately, I only got 10 because, Alonso didn't play, Rafinha didn't play. My bench is awful with Scarlett and Gilmore. I ended up doing... Who did I even remove now?
It's the first week in a while that you didn't take
Rudiger.
a hit, so like there's only literally one transfer to remember.
It was tricky. I was thinking about this a lot, and I removed Rudiger, and I was contemplating Reece James, who obviously only got 1 point. I was contemplating Tierney, who's playing as we record. I ended up going for John Stones because there was a rumor that he was going to play. He got 6 points. But I've just realised this week, my bench is too weak. All I'm doing is transfers on defenders, and bringing in John Stones hasn't helped that at all. And I've got 2 Man United players.
I was going to say, I realised that there was a rumour that Stones was going to play this week, but it's not necessarily a rumour that John Stones is back in the starting lineup, is it?
Yeah.
Well, no, this is the thing. So I thought Laporte might have been dropped, and Stones was playing ahead of Laporte. And then I was thinking, if that was the case, he might then keep the shirt. But then obviously what happened was Diaz was dropped. And so we have no further clarity on Stones. And I think it was a bit of a mistake in hindsight. It's got me 6 points, but I'm on wildcard now.
Yeah, there we go there. And it's dropped. I figured, because after I seen this, or I heard you were on wildcard, I was like, oh, that's why you got Stones in. But you said that you didn't know you were going to go on wildcard. So like Stones seems like a 1 week punt, but it wasn't. You just made a mistake. Is that what you're saying? Is that what you're saying?
I didn't. There was a few things here. Like I thought Alonso might play. I thought Man United might not be terrible. And I thought Stones might have replaced Laporte. All of those things I was wrong on. So yeah.
I mean, you were right though. You didn't bring in Tierney, and I mean that's right or wrong. But if he keeps a clean sheet, say, then that's at least an equal transfer. You didn't go for Laporte, which was decent. And who was the other one you said you were going to go for?
To be honest, I looked at almost every single defender. I even looked at Cucurella.
Well, it was a good choice. It was a good choice. Wow, that would have been mental.
Yeah. Basically, so far, until Tierney scores a brace or something tonight, like Stones was probably the best I could have done.
Yeah, you've done so well. How much was he as well?
He's 5.2, 5.3, something like that. But apparently he's not in the Champions League squad. But anyway, I've so many defensive transfers I've had to take out, over the last few weeks, like Webster, Eiling. I took out Trent. I took out Rudiger. I can't use any more transfers on defenders. I've just got a wild card and start again.
I'm excited to see your wild card, by the way.
Me too.
I haven't looked at it yet.
I don't know what it would be.
I haven't looked at it yet. I know it's been there and I put it on the stream, but I actually just didn't look. It just goes in a wee file. So I'm very, very excited. It has to be better than mine for sure. For sure.
I'd hope so. Should we get into the first headline?
Yeah, go for it. What are we looking at?
So our first headline, it's quite simply, it's premium strikers. There's been a lot of talk about them. Obviously, I've got two of them, Ronaldo and Lukaku, who have been absolutely useless for points-wise for weeks on end, and then consistently Jamie Vardy scoring goals. So if we go to you first, John, we've got well, let's not start with a question. But what are your thoughts on, for example, Ronaldo and Lukaku, just for example?
Sure. Okay. Well, I was dead set against premium right from the outset. I never fancied putting all that budget into Salah plus the big two. I was initially very keen to get Lukaku before Ronaldo lands into the league. That forced my hand, and Ronaldo looked like he was setting the world alight. Lukaku looked like he was setting the world alight. And as I say, both are now faltering. Ronaldo, he's not going to not score. Having sold him 2 weeks ago for Lukaku, it's made very little difference. I was delighted 2 weeks ago when I took a -8 to lose Ronaldo at the death and find that Ronaldo didn't start. I thought, I'm quitting here.
Decent transfer.
And then Lukaku does nothing either. So I'm very happy to own Lukaku for now. People talking about ditching him now for Vardy, madness, in my opinion, with Norwich coming up. But certainly, anyone who's got the double up front probably needs to lose one. And I think Ronaldo, with those fixtures, United looking the way they do, and they don't seem to have found a system that's playing to Ronaldo's strengths at all. So I think Ronaldo, it needs to make way at the moment. And yeah, Lukaku, with those fixtures, you can't let him go. So I think for the time being, it's a no-brainer to roll with Lukaku and get off Ronaldo as quickly as possible.
And I agree with you there. I agree. So one reason with Ronaldo I kept him last week was that obviously they were playing Leicester, which, I mean, Leicester have not been very good defensively, but obviously the fixtures get even tougher now for Ronaldo. I'm just wondering though, because I mean, Mark Bison asked this question: for every attacking stat under the sun, Vardy is smashing Lukaku. So why aren't we making the switch and banking the savings now? I mean, John, obviously you already alluded to you'll stick to Lukaku because he's got the fixtures. Would you rather have like Vardy than Ronaldo though, for example?
Yes, absolutely. And it's funny. I remember having a conversation in one of our groups, and somebody said this is probably the season when Vardy's probably going to slowly be slowly be sidelined, and he's getting older, and he's not going to have the same output. He just doesn't seem to slow down.
Nah, he can't. If he slows down, he'll break something. He's got to just keep going a million miles an hour.
I mean, if you recall, last season he was managing an ongoing problem. He seemed to be injured every game, but just managed his way through it. But he's still going. And yeah, so to be honest, I don't love the Leicester fixtures, and it's probably going to punish me to continue to overlook Vardy. But for the time being, I'm gonna stick to Lukaku.
Yeah, Brentford away, Arsenal home, Leeds away, Chelsea home, Watford home. I feel like if you haven't got them now, I mean, you could punt on them. That'd be fine if you're going to be wildcarding soon. But I can't. Loads of people have just wildcarded, right? I can't imagine them all of a sudden finding 10 million somewhere. It's going to be really difficult to move all your players to get there. So he will be still quite a differential for a while, I think. It's one of your things, Rich, where you said like the more expensive they are, the slower everyone is to jump on them, right? Yeah,
and it went horrifically last season when I had players like Vardy and Mane. But then this season it would probably have been the time to do it. But obviously that has nothing to do with how many points they score. The interesting thing with these premium strikers, I was thinking, because we've obviously got the new players in Lukaku and Ronaldo, or the new premiums, and then we've got the old premiums like Kane and Vardy, not age-wise, but Kane and Vardy, we know 100% they've got penalties. And it sounds funny saying it because there's not actually been that many penalties this season.
Yeah.
But we know you've got two nailed players in Vardy and Kane with penalties. And then we've got Ronaldo and Lukaku. We're still not sure if they're on penalties. I mean, Ronaldo, you would have to assume isn't. if Bruno's on the pitch.
Yeah.
I don't know if that comes into either of your thinking when you're picking these players.
Absolutely. I mean, I think it has to. Last year, as a Man United penalty taker, you'd have expected 10 goals out of him, probably. But yeah, like you say, the penalties have dried up since there seems to be an edict on the refs to allow play to go on and not to penalise minor contact. We're getting no penalties now.
Yeah.
It's strange though, because I still look at them. I still look at who's on penalties, and like when I've been building my wildcard, like the last couple of days, I've been like every time I set a team or a draft, I count how many penalty takers are, because I want to have at least like 3 or 4, because it just feels obviously like 3 goals, but it's just not happening. And I remember being so angry last season when I didn't have Bruno and he was scoring a penalty every week, for his 10-pointer.
Yeah. They play towards it. I think they haven't been playing towards that this season. I feel like Manchester United don't really have a game plan. Might just be me.
Well, a lot of the penalties were being won by Martial and Rashford, I think, last season, who have barely played. So have they got the same players who are winning those kind of pens? I also think these things, they sometimes go through cycles. You remember last season, they were giving out penalties like confetti, and then all of a sudden changed the rules and were given none. Yeah. There could come a point midway through the season where the referee association look and say, we're not dishing out any penalties here, let's change our approach, and all of a sudden the penalties start to flow again.
I actually like it. I don't think penalties ruin games, in my opinion. I mean, I know they should be there sometimes, and it's kind of like, that should have been a pen, this should have been a pen and stuff, but I think we're getting closer and closer to it being correct calls most of the time. Like, it's definitely better than last season.
I agree.
But I'm just looking at the fixtures now, because obviously fixtures do come into our thinking with these things, and Chelsea is right up there almost at the top. And we all know that, and we all have Lukaku because of that. But Man United are right at the bottom and in second place, second worst only to Brighton, based on the hub stuff. And then Leicester are 4th worst. So for me, like, Vardy would be amazing 3 weeks ago, and then you could maybe, if you had him for a while, you could be like, well, I'll just keep him because he's been doing well. I'll get rid of him when he's rubbish. But do you think that the fixtures benefit Vardy or not, John? Do you think that he's, regardless of how he's playing, he'll score? Or, because Manchester United aren't exactly someone where we can look at and think, oh, he scored against Man United, he can score against anyone. Like, it's not really the case anymore.
No, it's not. It's always been said that Vardy's one of those players who does do better in tougher fixtures, because he's a player who's great at catching players on the break. I'm not sure if that's the way he's playing these days as he gets a little bit older.
Yeah.
I don't know if he still has that electric pace. I know he has a lot of joy against Arsenal, so I don't think that's a fixture that I fear. Brentford is certainly looking a very strong side. Leeds, I think he can get at. Chelsea you wouldn't fancy, but then again, Watford at home, you could have a field day. So there's 3 fixtures there in the next 5 that you'd think he could get a lot of joy at.
Yeah, I think that. So he did. I think a few weeks ago, I was thinking about getting him because there was that easy run of fixtures. So I do think that's partly gone into it. And like John just says, going through those fixtures now, Brentford are quite tough. I think maybe we could start looking at Vardy maybe game week 11 when they got Leeds. Otherwise, you can wait till, like John said, till game week 13 when they got Watford, Southampton, Villa, Newcastle. That's a quite nice run, because I know some people have been looking at getting rid of Lukaku in a few weeks to go to Kane. But you could look at to go to Vardy. But that's possible as well.
You could do both. You could get rid of Salah if you want. You could just get rid of everyone. You can go right up the top.
Salah. This is something that's made this game so boring now. Like, I've never thought about perma caps, but I think Salah's pretty much there. Like, this week might be different, but I don't think there's going to be many weeks we're not captaining Salah.
Yeah, it's tough.
No,
I mean,
I think the simple fact that we've got an asset. Sorry, go on.
No. You go.
The simple fact that we've got an asset like Lukaku at home to Norwich, and we're debating captaining him, says it all. And we're debating captaining him when he's at Old Trafford.
it seemed like such a no-brainer. I mean, I remember everyone looking at this weeks ago and like, we have to have Lukaku for this run. And genuinely, last night I was thinking, do I need him on Wildcard? Like, could I just go for like Vardy, Antonio, and Tony? Like, I'm not going to do it, but
Please do it.
It was a genuine thought, because I've owned Lukaku like since the second game he joined the league, and it's been horrible, apart from the week I captained him.
Yeah.
And even when he scored that brace against Villa, it was 2 shots.
Yeah. Aye.
Like, he's not been putting up the stats.
Well, to be fair, if we think about it, right? So from that Aston Villa when he scored the brace, right? Went against Tottenham and they scored 3 goals, but he wasn't involved. Fair enough. Then they played Man City, so that's a tough game. Then they played Southampton. They scored 3 goals and he wasn't involved, which is annoying. I would say that's his first proper blank, because I never expected my guys to do well against the top 6, even if, you know, they're not doing too well. So I wouldn't expect him to score.
And he's had goals disallowed a couple of times.
Yeah, exactly. But then Southampton was his first proper blank for me since the brace. And then he played Brentford, and they looked so good against Chelsea. Like, they should have scored a couple of times. Then the last 15 minutes, them just going at it constantly, trying to score. It was so good. It's actually interesting. It makes me think I want Vardy for the Brentford game, because if they start doing that against Leicester and he gets the ball, like, it's a goal, because he's so good at that. But in regards to, like, Lukaku was taken off, the 75th minute or something. Like, they needed another defender. They didn't have an out ball for 15 minutes, and it was just because of how good Brentford were playing. So I don't know if Lukaku is necessarily like not doing well, or it's just that, you know, he's happy when the team are doing, you know, they've already scored 3 goals, what's the point? Or, you know, we need to defend it this time. Maybe he's just an overall rounded player now than what we're used to him just being selfish, like Salah, for example. But I still wouldn't get rid of him.
I mean, I went into that game.
The thing is...
Oh, sorry, go on, John.
And I was just going to say, even if it were Adam Armstrong, Pookie, if they were playing Norwich at home, Newcastle away, Burnley at home, wouldn't contemplate selling them, even for a budget striker. Yeah. So Lukaku playing for a title challenging Chelsea team, yeah, you've got to keep him, haven't you?
It's a good point. And also Vardy, I mean, as an alternative, he's only ticking over. It's not like he's getting, you know, hat tricks or anything. So yeah, I think I was just disappointed, because I went into that game knowing I was going to wildcard, and I was thinking in my mind that I could get Lukaku and Werner here. And then you watch Chelsea play and you're like, oh,
a lot of people did it. A lot of people did that. Crazily enough, I think Werner went up in price.
Yeah, it's just you watch them play and they are boring. Like, even that Villa game where Lukaku scored the brace, obviously his second goal was in like the 90 odd minutes or something, but they just didn't look like they had no attacking intent for most of the second half. They're happy just to pass it around, sit back, and they're not going to destroy a team heavily, like Liverpool are, for example. So that's the disappointing thing.
And the Southampton game changed on the red card as well.
Exactly. I mean, they were, you know, the underdog almost in that game until the red card happened. But yeah, should we move on to, we got a second headline. So the best 5.5 to 8 billion midfielders. It comes from Josh. So thanks, Josh. And he said excluding Rafinha.
I like that exclusion.
Yeah. I mean, do you think that's fair? Do we all agree that let's pretend we're wildcarding and we, you know, have to have 3 budget midfielders alongside Salah.
Yeah.
Would we all have Rafinha in that team?
Yeah. I'm assuming so. Yeah, it's great, because if he didn't say that, then he might as well have just said who is your, you know, you pick 2, because it's like he was always going to be all right, Rafinha, and then who else? So that's decent. But I don't have Rafinha right now.
I think there's going to be another player we're all going to have.
Is it Mbeumo?
Yeah.
Yeah. Talk to me about Mbeumo.
I think so.
Mr. Post, isn't it?
No brainer. He's playing up front. We just said how good Brentford were against Chelsea. They were meant to be a good defensive team. So I almost that's why I think, you know, if you're picking you're going to pick Rafinha alongside Salah, and you're going to have Mbeumo.
It's nuts that he's still 2.9% owned. How crazy is that?
It is.
Well, I think people have been waiting for the fixtures to change.
But wildcard and everything, like, do you think that is it? Do you think, because if I was on wildcard, I would just have him and bench him. Like, I got him last week and I just benched him because I want him long term, or at least for the fixtures. Do people not do that anymore? Do people not wildcard and have some players that they want in a couple of game weeks, but because they're wildcard? Is it just me? Am I playing my wildcards wrong? I've been playing it wrong this season, I'll tell you that. So I don't know. Maybe it's just me. What do you think, John? Mbeumo.
I don't know. I mean, it might have put me off getting him on a wildcard. Certainly to double up with him and Tony. I have Tony at the moment, and I feel like I put the wrong one. Tony, it surprised me from his output last season that he's now this deeper player who seems to be feeding him in Mbeumo.
It's almost like a Kane role.
I will have Mbeumo very soon. And if we're talking about top 3, 5.5 midfielders, he's got to be in there. I mean, as I say, he's hit the woodwork 6 times. People say he's not a great finisher. Those will start going in, surely.
Yeah, this is not a Traore where he's skying the ball and hitting someone in like the 18th row or something. Like this is a guy who's hit the post 6 times. Remember when Alonso hit the post 6 times? That was like 3 years ago or something. And like that year he scored like 180 points or something. So it definitely is coming.
There's a few players that always seem to hit the woodwork. Like Antonio always used to be one as well. Ollie Watkins, who, funnily enough, last time you were on, John, I had Ollie Watkins, and I remember you and Josh laughing at. I think he'd missed a penalty that week. It was like a comedy of errors. But Mbeumo feels a bit like Ollie Watkins, but cheaper and a midfielder.
That's amazing. That's funny you said that.
Well,
go for it.
He's 5.5 million, and he's playing up front. He's the out-and-out striker in a Brentford side that look pretty decent, with some great fixtures coming up. He looks a gift.
Yeah.
See, the fact we're also unanimous on this, that we'd go for Salah, Mbeumo, and my memory's going today. We'd go for Salah, Mbeumo, and Rafinha.
Yeah.
Would only leave you with maximum of 2 other midfielders. So, John, what other 2 midfielders between that 5.5 and 8 million would you go for? Obviously, I think you've gone for Foden, haven't you, with your hit last week?
Yeah, I have. And I think, I had to look at the numbers, and I would still put him in there. Obviously, I swapped Jota to Foden. I think you can only afford one of those 2. At the moment, so both of those players, you're going to have to swallow the odd benching. Maybe they'll play 2 in 3. Jota maybe now 1 in 2. For me, I mean, when I saw Foden playing against Liverpool a couple of weeks ago, he just looked fantastic. It was terrifying, to the extent that Salah scored that ridiculous goal, and they gave him a nonsense co-man of the match.
That was weird.
Which I thought was strange, but I've always liked him. Last season, I thought he's a really talented player. He's probably one of their best players when he's on the pitch. I'm living on the hope that he's getting a bit older. He's going to become more prominent in the City team. No one's ever nailed, but that he becomes more of a key player for them. Sterling's fallen by the wayside. Torres is now injured.
Yeah.
Grealish hasn't seemed to have the output, to be honest. We thought he was uber nailed, and he was for a while, but Foden seems to have put that at risk. So, great run of fixtures for City. You've got to swallow a couple of pensions, but I think he's worth the risk.
Yeah, and he's scored points off the bench before. Also, it's funny you mentioned Grealish, because there were some comments earlier from Pep. They almost seem to suggest, in my eyes anyway, that Grealish hadn't been outside of training and playing football. It seems like he might have not played, and this is only my interpretation, that he might not have played because he's not been sleeping well or whatever he's doing in his personal life.
Sleeping well. I've seen the pictures, so I know exactly what you're talking about.
I don't know if you know what Pep's like. One little thing and you're out, out the team. So I don't know if there's more there. But that could work in Foden's favour as well.
That's true. That's true. I didn't think about that.
A player I wanted to mention on this was still Ismaila Sarr. Like, I know Watford were awful, but I guess the first thing would be they were playing Liverpool, who were playing incredibly.
Yeah, teams are allowed to have bad games.
He had chances, didn't he? Like I think he hit the post. He's definitely their most attacking outlet, even if the fixtures do stiffen up. Some say they stiffened up already, but I think they've still a couple more games in Sarr, and he's one I'm tempted to keep because I've got some value tied up in him. Like, he's definitely in the discussion.
I've got him at the moment. I benched him this week because he was playing us.
Yep.
But with the Rafinha news, I knew he was coming on, and he very nearly scored towards the end. Ranieri pushed him up front, central striker. So it'll be interesting to see if he keeps with that experiment, and if so,
He's worth every
got
penny.
potential, certainly.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, Everton's not the worst game in the world, and I mean, it was the worst game in the world this weekend, by the way. It was the worst game I've seen in ages.
Damn game.
Oh my goodness, that was so bad. I'm sorry for anyone who wasted 90 minutes, but hopefully they'll be a bit more attacking against the Watford side at home, which it is good for Sarr at least. And then they've got Southampton, which again is not a bad fixture. So I think if you're going to keep him for a couple of weeks and then jump on someone else, then that's fine. But Arsenal have kind of shored up a bit. Then they go Man United, then Leicester, Chelsea, Man City. Even if we're going to be very nice and give them 2 goals in those, that's still probably not worth it.
He's so cheap. He's one I'm finding hard to get rid of because, he was 6 million. Obviously, he's gone up to 6.3 now. I feel like he could be this talisman, not as good as Mbeumo or anything like that, but he's one and another player I was looking at was Zaha, for example. Now, Zaha's not even in the squad today, so it might make it a little easier to keep.
Do we know why? Because he's a good player. He's been doing well this season.
I don't know. Some Palace fans seem to hate Zaha with all the new signings. I saw Elise's not playing. That was annoying because I hoped he would.
Yeah.
But John, who would your third one be? So outside of obviously Rafinha and Salah, would you have a third one that you'll definitely go for?
Well, I thought it was worth touching on, even though I wouldn't pick one of them. I thought it was worth touching on the Everton midfielders because quite a few of those are fairly well owned. The Doucourés, Gray, Townsend. They for me seem to have fallen off the cliff a little bit now. The Watford game's a great fixture, so I won't be selling them this week.
Yeah.
But after the Watford fixture, we may have DCL back, we may have Richarlison back, and they just don't seem like they're offering enough at the moment. So I wouldn't touch those. A third one. I mean, I did have an eye on Sarr. I suppose I tell you who. Again, I sold Ben Rama on my Game Week 4 Wildcard, and all since then, one fluky deflection. But every time I watch him, I'm worried that he's going to score. He is very active and very
greedy,
very ex-lively.
Yeah,
very
which we love. We love
he
that.
He seems to be offering a lot more. Yeah. Obviously, the fixture's stiffen up, so I probably wouldn't be jumping on him, but I wouldn't be in a rush to sell him if you do own him. I think if I were to pick one other, it would probably be Saka now, but it's slim pickings.
Yeah, there seems to be a lot of players in this lower bracket, but there's not much to pick between them. And I think that's why I like Sarr, because we don't. Again, I'm going back to penalties. All I talk about is penalties, but we think he might be on penalties. This is the thing that differentiates these players. It's a bit like Zaha. If he was playing, we know he's on penalties. It's something. So have you got any, Dave, that you'll be eyeing up?
I mean, it's only really punts left, to be honest. All the good ones are kind of gone. Greenwood didn't play. Jota's not playing anymore. If you wanted a City mid, there's a few.
Scored.
Oh yeah, sorry. So he did. Who was I thinking of? Torres. Torres is injured. If you wanted to go for a City guy, then you absolutely can. Foden's obviously we've already talked about him. But other than that, how I was thinking Elianusi from Southampton, just because of their run of fixtures that are coming up. They're almost top of the fixture ticker. He's been doing okay. Southampton have only scored 5 goals total this season, which is kind of crazy, right? But
fixtures.
No, but as the fixtures have been rubbish for them, right? So I mean, Livermento's been doing magical, and that's awesome.
Look at the upcoming fixtures.
But the upcoming fixtures are good. I mean, they played. The time they scored 2 goals against Newcastle game week 3, right? So that's fine. They scored against Everton, but they lost. They scored against Man United, but they lost. Then it was a 0-0 versus West Ham. They didn't score against City or Wolves, and they got a sneaky goal against Chelsea, right? But it's been pretty tough. Maybe 6 fixtures or something, and we've all got Livermento. They keep keeping clean sheets for some reason. They just look really good, and I think they have been very defensively minded. So now we're going into this period of we've got amazing fixtures coming up: Burnley, Watford, Aston Villa, and Norwich, and those are the fixtures that Southampton should be targeting for points. And you need to score to get points. I'm assuming that these are going to be their kind of, right, let's go for it, lads. These next 4, we've done well. We've come out with a lot more points than we thought we would have by this point, looking at the fixtures at the start of the season. So now we've got, a great opportunity to get some more on the board. Let's go for it. So hopefully that happens. And I think Elyounoussi is a pretty decent player, and he's pretty nailed on that wing. So I like him as a punt, but it would just be a punt.
There's a Southampton player I've had, a midfielder I've had in a couple of my drafts.
Is it Redmond?
And yeah, it's Redmond. And I know John mentioned him earlier, with the stats. I'll tell you why, because it sounds silly, because I know a lot of Saints fans seem to get annoyed at him because he just can't finish.
Yeah.
But I noticed this at the end of last season. They played, I don't know why I was watching it. I was watching an FA Cup game. Southampton against Bournemouth, I think. But it was on BBC, so I watched it. And Redmond looked insane. And then the next couple of weeks, he started scoring points in FPL as well. I think he's a really streaky player. So with those fixtures, I mean, it is a punt. He's 5.9 million.
Yeah.
But because he looks so good, maybe you can catch, this little golden period where he's going to be good for like 2 or 3 games.
Potentially.
Or it could be horrific.
I mean, he got all 3 bonus last night, or Saturday. So it's not a bad pick. I don't know does he start all the time? And I think he got substituted. He didn't play the first 2 games. He got subbed off against Wolves.
I think he will. I mean, obviously, it's probably one we should check with actually Southampton fans, but
it's not bad. So it's fixtures
well,
mostly.
I think he will play.
Yeah. Gone are the days where we're getting Wildcard in and whatnot.
Yeah. Anyway, I've just recommended Nathan Redmond.
I know.
So I think we've scraped the barrel on that one.
Potentially. Is there anyone? Hold on. Let me check the thing if we've missed anyone. By the way. How are we doing for time? We've got 3 minutes till the piss break. So
I mean, I've looked at every player this week, and I wanted Elise to start, and he's not started. So that's because Palace have obviously got Newcastle this week. Gallagher. I mean, is anyone like? I know Gallagher was quite popular a few weeks ago. Is that of interest to either of you?
Nah.
Not anymore. I was very keen actually. As I was approaching Wildcard, I was thinking he was definitely going to be on there, but he seems to have dried up. Unfortunately, it's not for now, but one I've got my eye on for when he does come back is Bailey from Villa. He got like 20 minutes. He tore it up for 20 minutes. Man of the match, goal, assist. But I mean, he's obviously not ready to go yet.
Yeah.
Is he injury prone? I don't know much about him, but he seems to be just playing.
He's got to be. You see how fast he runs? It'd kill me to run that fast. Jesus.
He's got a chin tooth.
Oh my goodness. No, I don't know if he's injury prone, but I bet he is. I didn't
realise he played so few minutes. 84 minutes across 3 games.
Well, maybe it takes a while for him to get fit.
Yeah. No, I like that one. I like that one as one to keep an eye on. And also, I guess, Ward-Prowse. But again, it's going to be because after his suspension, he's going to be on penalties.
Oh yeah, and Saka. Did we mention Saka? He's playing tonight, so that's probably why it didn't come into our thoughts. Yeah. But a lot of people punted on him.
No,
Arsenal have decent fixtures. Oh, did you? Perfect.
Yeah, John did. Yeah.
Good stuff. That's literally everyone, guys. So we'll go into the piss break. When we come back, we'll be talking about Rich's wildcard.
Well, and captaincy is the most important thing. No one cares about my wildcard.
I want to talk about Rich's wildcard. See you guys in a bit. Amazing. All right, so this is weird on. You probably haven't done this yet, John, because obviously we're on YouTube for the first time.
No, but I was.
But you absolutely can go for a pee if you need it, and I'll just chat to the chat. Rich definitely does.
I need to top up my water though.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna pop off for like 2 minutes.
Yeah, go for it. I'll just read the chat. Oh, Alba scored. Class.
Yeah, I saw that. I wonder what people were talking about at first. I thought people were suggesting it. Like I saw James put it. I thought he was suggesting for midfielders.
Oh, I'm so happy for
Magnus Carlsen.
For Magnus. Has he got him, mate?
Yeah, of course he does.
Oh, amazing. I'm definitely happy. I was going to say I'm happy for James. Okay. What do I think of Bilva? I'm just going to put the cameras back on. I'm all alone. There's no... Oh, he's away.
He's back.
Oh, all right. How's it going?
I just need some water.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, Bilva is interesting. He looked a write-off, but he's been one of their best players, to be honest.
No, I know. And he scored 2 goals, got an assist. He's he started 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games in a row.
Yeah.
That's
I
not.
picked him up quite late in a draft game the other day, and I wasn't 100% sure he was attacking enough, but I think it's a great little pickup now.
After 11 points, yeah, sure. I mean, it's funny because everyone was thinking between Mahrez and Foden, and of course yourself, you went for Foden, and you know that turned out decent. But we didn't really get much love for Silva, and it's interesting because like he is nailed, and if Foden had gotten as many returns as Silva had in the last 6, you know, we'd all be on him.
Yeah.
And he's the exact same price as well. Like in seasons past, he's been 8 million and stuff. Like he's been a bit too expensive. And I think for me,
I think it's the fact that he's dropped out of the front 3.
yeah.
So he's playing a little deeper, but he's still getting involved.
No, I mean, when did that stop us from, like, KDB sometimes plays there, you know what I mean? And to be honest, everyone scores when they're playing for City. So all you want to do is make sure that whoever you're getting is on the pitch, and he seems to be on the pitch all the time. Yeah. It's very interesting. What do you think about Bilva, Rich, now that you're back?
I wouldn't get him from my FPL team.
No.
I remember a few years ago I had him quite a lot, but maybe he was playing like more advanced back then. I think it was only for a few months anyway. I think a lot of people must be watching the Arsenal game, which surprises me. Who wants to watch Arsenal? But...
yeah, totally.
Although the Iceman's in the chat. And
how many games in a row has Silva started, Rich?
I'm guessing it's quite a lot because I check the City forums a lot, and he's man of the match every single week.
So guess out of 8,
6.
It's 7. It's 7 games in a row too. He missed the first game, like he didn't even play.
It sort of reminds me though, if I went for him, it would feel a bit like when I first started playing like FPL, I used to pick like if a team was scoring a lot of goals, I'd try and squeeze anyone in. Like even if it was like Fernandinho, I'd be like, I need to get as many City attackers in as possible.
I mean,
I'm talking about like my first season.
I was gonna say like, and also, I don't think you should be comparing Bernardo Silva to Fernandinho as a pick like that. So
that's what I mean. No, it's trying to get a City attacker in because they're nailed,
I know,
because they're a good asset.
I don't even think Fernandinho is an attacker. I wouldn't class him as an attacker even.
I'm talking about my first ever season here, so I'm glad it's during the piss break. Like, I used to just look at the good teams and then just try and get them in. But
I nearly seen your.
I know what you mean. Buying Kante just because he's a cheap way into the Chelsea midfield, for example.
Exactly. Like, I used to do it like a lot.
Yeah.
And like this was probably like even before I played FPL. Like when I was playing like Telegraph, I used to do that.
Oh man.
No.
You played the Telegraph back in the day.
I played when I was at school.
I used to play the Telegraph.
Did you guys have? I've never played it. Did you guys have fun? Like, was it decent?
So
and silence.
Sorry. My first interaction with fantasy football was when I was 18 years old, which is 25 years ago now. And my boss used to take the Telegraph into work, write the weekly scores into a spreadsheet, and send everyone's teams out to them.
Wow.
So he was managing it all off a spreadsheet, and that got me hooked.
Yeah, no wonder. Awesome. You get it's delivered to you via email. That's amazing. Whoever did that is
See, mine was old school like that, but it was the school library used to have like 2 newspapers, and one of them was the Telegraph. So on like a Monday, we'd go in there and we'd check the points, and then we'd write them all down, like out the paper, scrolling down. Because I'd have no idea who got an assist from like CFAX or whatever it was. So you'd have to wait. And I remember One Chop we used to call him.
One Chop.
Yeah, he went on like a run, and I remember being desperate to get him, but you had to send it in the post.
So you actually forget to make your transfers because you didn't want to leave the house.
Like, only have second-class stamps, and then be like, oh no, it's Thursday.
That's actually wild. The amount of admin. I would hate to have worked for the Telegraph for that. The amount of admin that is in taking letters, opening the letter up, reading people's horrible handwriting if it was handwritten, then finding their team, then adding that in, then making sure the computer I'm an admin in real life. There's like 80 steps to that for one person, and you've got...
It was like a number. Every player, I think, had a number.
Oh, that's so bad. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Is that a 1 or a 7? Oh, I'm binning this. I didn't get it in time. Like, just bin them. Shall we get back to it, Mr. Captain?
Yeah, let's get back to it.
All right, 5, 4, 3.
Welcome back. And during the piss break, we were just talking about old school fantasy football, like through the post. I actually kind of miss it. But I guess we just got to get on with FPL now. So our third headline, we thought this deserved a whole headline. It's captaincy for game week 9, because I think there's a lot of debate in the community at the moment. You know, if you go for form, which is obviously it's Salah, or if you go for the fixtures, which is Lukaku. So I think we're just going to go straight into it. So John, have you got a strong opinion on this? I know when you sent me your team earlier, you changed to captain. So I'm guessing not, or
no. I think, as we talked about earlier, part of the reason that Lukaku's even in my team was that I was fixated that I needed them this week for captaincy. I have captained against my own player, Salah, as a Liverpool fan. The last couple of weeks, I got punished when I didn't captain against City. But I still think that was the right decision. Yes, he hauled against City, and no, Lukaku didn't against Southampton, but that could have quite easily gone the other way.
Yeah.
At the moment, the captaincy is on Lukaku for now. I just think stick with the plan.
I agree.
Do you know what would make it? Because it is close for me with the form versus fixtures thing. I think what makes it more tempting with Salah, it's not necessarily form and fixtures, but it's, you know, he gets the extra point for the goal and obviously the clean sheet thing. So I do prefer captaining the midfielder over a striker.
He's definitely on pens, Rich, which you care a lot about too.
That's true. I mean, that is true.
Defo is pens. Even if Milner's playing these days, he still takes the pens.
Yeah.
So there's two things that do go in Salah's favour a little bit.
Do you think Manchester United are not going to turn up, though, against Liverpool? They're going to play Cristiano Ronaldo. They're going to play all their best players. They're going to try really hard. I'm assuming they'll have all four in defence. One clean sheet
in 19?
Yeah,
it's not the best.
Luke Shaw has got less points over the season than Firmino has in one game. I think it was FPL Heisenberg tweeted that.
Fair. To be fair, there's quite a lot of players, but I see what you're saying. Although remember last season, was it last season, maybe the season before, when Liverpool just kept getting like one goal scored in them, and we all had double Liverpool defense, and it was just really annoying that there was a constant like one goal conceded, and the XGC was always really low. It has the same vibes, except Manchester United this year are shite, like in the defence. But it's still only been like one goal here and there. And then all of a sudden they concede 4 against Leicester, and it changes the whole dynamic. So I don't know if maybe they were going for it against Leicester to try to get their goals back. What do you think, John?
And I would also add, Maguire got tore to pieces. And I think Maguire shouldn't have been playing.
No, did you see that corner? Did you see the gif of him like watching the player as it goes by to score behind him, not man marking him? Oh man, it was crazy.
I know he's got that in his locker anyway. He's made the odd howler, but he just wasn't fit. So I would imagine we get a different Harry Maguire next week.
Hopefully,
but
for
you're
his
right,
sake.
they're not good. No, hopefully not.
Oh yeah, for our Liverpool's sake. Yeah. Rich, do you think that Man United are going to play, you know, as bad as they have been?
See, there was part of me was thinking, in the big games last season, they always, you know, tried to keep it low scoring, keep it 0-0.
Yeah.
Then I don't know. Then I slapped myself a bit. I was like, that's just me talking, not wanting to wildcard. Like, I want to get rid of Man United players. I do not want them. And yeah, so that's how I feel. I mean, I'm happy to have Liverpool the players this week. I just think if I captained Lukaku over Salah and Lukaku went off, I'd feel like a bit of an idiot. It's like a couple of weeks ago, I genuinely did consider, didn't I, like captaining Salah against City. But it's just the fact, it seems so obvious in hindsight. And I don't think you're going to get like a Salah hat-trick, but you could get a Lukaku hat-trick. As in, I think the upside's higher. With captaining a player against Norwich rather than captaining a player against Man United.
See if your plan has always been to captain Lukaku. I think it's like John said, it's exceptionally difficult to go against your plan and then be okay with it when your plan was right and you were wrong. Like that, I feel like that's when I hate myself the most, is when I plan for something for ages, I change my mind that week, and then it goes wrong. Having said that, though, like 17, then a blank, then 10, 8, 12, 7, 13, 13. Like Salah is on another level this season. And like scoring 13 points against Man City, and Man City have been good. Like this is another Manchester team that have been poor, and Salah is going to go nuts.
The planning for it does make it tougher because I mean personally, I got in Lukaku, didn't I? For game week 3, I did that hit that cost me 17 points off the bat, and I've held Lukaku knowing that I was going to captain him against Norwich.
Yeah.
But then I also think, is that sunk cost fallacy where you need to think, you just because I've done that doesn't mean he's the best captain option.
Yeah.
But you touched on it before. To hit that 13-point haul, Lukaku needs a brace. Salah, goal and assist.
Yeah, that's true.
So
to match him,
easier to hit that double figures.
I made the decision a couple of weeks ago to just try and play my own game because I've been kind of like, a wild card and it didn't go well, and I had some players. I'm just gonna take a hit. So I think this was like game week 6. I thought I'll save a transfer, even though it was I had a lot of flags. I was like, I'm gonna save a transfer and I'm gonna take a big hit potentially for game week 8, and then we'll see what's happening. And I also captained Kevin De Bruyne on purpose against everyone captaining Salah because I figured that everyone would be captaining Salah. And if Kevin De Bruyne gets a couple of goals and Salah only gets 1, for example, then that's going to help a lot. And it almost paid off. There was only 2 points in it. I think I'm probably going to do the same this week. So I'm going to captain Salah when everyone captains Lukaku. Just because
they're both be pretty similarly owned, I'd imagine.
But you mean captained?
One thing I was going to suggest for this, though, is if we knew who was playing left back for Chelsea, would we feel more confident captaining, say, if we knew Chilwell was starting or if we knew Alonso was starting, and this is very unlikely, I feel like I'd feel more confident with them than Lukaku.
What, captaining them?
Yeah, because Norwich are not going to score. And I think it's something like 50% of Chelsea's goals have been defenders this season.
Yeah. Imagine you captain Chilwell this week. That would have been class.
It's not really predictable, is it? Although Champions League's tomorrow night. So.
Yeah, you're going to have to watch Champions. We're going to have to make sure we know all our facts. But I think the worst case scenario is that you pick the wrong one and everyone else picks the other guy and you're absolutely massive difference between them. But do you think that Salah's honestly not going to score? Like, I could say with a certainty that Salah's probably going to score, right? Or at least get something, right? But I couldn't say the same for Lukaku. Just absolutely couldn't based on his form. Right. So, like, it doesn't matter who the defenders are because it's bloody Salah. It's bloody Salah.
Salah will find a way.
And he's gonna. And unless the only thing that would stop me from captaining him is if, for whatever reason in the Champions League, United absolutely turn it around and they're like, you know what, they win 12-0 or something. They look absolutely amazing. They're so raging that they lost against Leicester that they smash through their play next, and that's not gonna happen, right? It's not gonna happen. But if it does, then I'll maybe consider it. But for now, like, they're a lot worse than City, and Salah got a goal and assist, and that's all I need to know.
Yeah.
It's a very, very close one. I think like we alluded to, the Champions League's gonna play a big part in it. But if we had to pick one like now, John, who would yours be, and who would yours be after that, Dave? the
it's on Lukaku at the moment. Lukaku. Yeah, the pause says. My heart says Salah. My head says stick with the plan. Lukaku. I'll say Lukaku.
Yeah,
Dave?
I'm going to say Kevin De Bruyne. I'm going to go for Kevin De Bruyne this week. He's an option for me.
Okay.
He's an option for me. No, probably Salah. Probably Salah just now.
See, I'm on Lukaku, but it doesn't feel great. It really doesn't feel great, and it shouldn't it, against Norwich? Like it really should, and that's why I was having these doubts about even having him in my team.
If you're not going to captain him,
it's Norwich at home, Liverpool are away.
Yeah, that's true.
That's something as well, isn't it? You know, with the home advantage. Yeah, I think I'm going to go with Lukaku, but I'm not expecting like a lot. Maybe like a brace.
What do you think the
That's
captaincy
really-
percentages are going to be? Like Salah was 180%.
I think they'll both be over 100, but not much.
Do you
You'd
think they're
expect
gonna
most of the casuals to just leave it on Salah.
I don't think so.
I was thinking that.
Really? Do you think they just leave it on whoever? Because even when I was being a casual, I would still just go, who's got the best fixture? Oh,
He had
no,
quite a high
amazing.
captaincy against City. It was over 100%.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, fair
Would
play.
the casuals not also look at who's been scoring goals? Salah. Lukaku's not been doing anything.
Yeah, maybe
Exactly.
we should learn from the
Exactly.
casuals.
Plus Norwich just kept a clean sheet.
Who were they playing?
Brighton.
Brighton,
So
right, okay.
there's that to look into. If you're just looking at the most basic things, Norwich are off the back of a clean sheet. Lukaku hasn't scored for weeks, and Salah scores every week.
2 clean sheets for Norwich. That's right.
Oh, is it 2? Oh, there we go. There we go.
Wow.
Right, I think that wasn't that conclusive, but I think it was worth discussing at least.
Yeah, you spread out all the facts. Now everyone knows they can make their own decisions. We've got someone on the fence. We've got one for Lukaku, one for Salah. That's absolutely perfect politics
I
there,
think
right
we're
down
all
the
gonna be on
middle.
the fence for a while. I was even
Yeah.
looking at the algorithm, Mikhail Tokvam's algorithm earlier, and he has Lukaku ahead.
What?
I mean, it's not by much.
No, I know, but Salah's always ahead in his thing. I was expected to be backed up by Mikel.
That's very true, actually. That's very
I can't
true.
believe
Salah is
that.
normally top.
You know, I'm actually happy that I own De Bruyne now, because if Salah and Lukaku both do the same, then it doesn't really matter who's captain and who. Then at least I've got the third option, because not many people have the third option. I feel like
Brighton have kept 4 clean sheets in their 8 games.
yeah, but
2 in a row.
How many games did they play City?
Well, they haven't played them yet,
Well, I
as you
know
well know.
that. Yeah.
So because we're in the middle of games, we won't do any league updates at the moment. But if you'd like to join the FPL Surgery Podcast League, the code for that is 4U2742. And now we're going to go on to the questions. So we got quite a lot of questions actually.
Oh, show me your wild card.
Well, we've got to get through the questions.
I forgot with the
first.
questions. Right, go.
So our first question's from Emma. What are the next moves that entice you before the rush? I'm not sure, Emma, fully what you mean. I'm assuming you mean transfers.
Before the rush?
Yeah.
I don't know what that means either. You should have asked her. Why didn't you just ask her?
No, I just copied and
You
pasted.
just copy and pasted it.
I presume she means what transfers have you got in mind that are going to get ahead of the game before someone becomes a bandwagon?
There you go. We needed you here, and
Amazing.
Jossy. Amazing. A great question. Rich, you go first.
Let John go first.
He understood, so he's got at least 5 seconds on us. Sorry, Emma.
To be honest, I'm really settled at the moment. I think I've got Mbomo, who we've all talked about. He's high on my radar. He's not particularly under the radar though, is he?
2.6% owned, man. He's massively under the radar.
Not in this FPL community, he's not under the radar, but I think outside of that, he might be.
Oh yeah, for sure. Because casuals don't see how many people have hit the post. That's the thing. We've got the extra stats here at FPL Surgery. So is there any punts that you're thinking of taking at all before the rush, as it were?
Before the rush?
Yeah.
No, I'm trying to be. I'm a really boring template player at times.
All the best are.
And yeah,
it's serious. It's true.
Where you're right. Where I become less boring is the fact that I always move too early and I always get excitable and take too many hits. But yeah, I try and move towards the template because there's a reason why it's a template. Everyone wants to play. The one guy who I'm gutted I don't have at the moment is Chilwell. I was hoping that Rudiger was going to give me an excuse to buy him, but I don't think I have it now. So
is Rudiger still
back in training?
He's in, is he? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
We're
how much is
drifting into
Chilwell?
captains here, aren't we?
Say again, sorry?
Yeah, we are.
We're drifting into captains.
That's funny. How much is Chilwell these days?
Yeah, well, like John says, let's not do our transfers yet.
No, I just want to know how much he is. Oh, it's 5.7. Okay, cool.
We got a question from Jay Royce. Leeds have scored more than 1 goal in a match only once all season. Game weeks 2-2 draw versus Everton. Are we giving their assets too much credit? So, I mean, we talked about Rafinha, for example. Are there any other Leeds assets that any of us are looking at?
No, last time I brought in a Leeds asset, they got injured, and it's the exact same for you, Rich. With Ayling.
Bamford? Yeah.
Aye, Bamford for me, Ayling for him. Like they keep,
I started with Ayling. Like
fair
I would
play,
not
they're
have
still
brought him
dropping like flies, mate. They're still dropping. No, well, we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, right? And I said that I've watched Leeds a couple of times and they haven't been that good, and they just don't remind me of the Leeds that we've been used to in the last season. And a few other people said that, you know, a few other podcasts mentioned the fact that Leeds are kind of off a bit. Now this question comes in, it's the same thing. Are we giving their assets too much credit? The problem with that is that it seems like it doesn't matter if Leeds are doing badly or not. Raphinha is doing good. So it's the same argument with Sarr or I guess Vardy potentially. Like it's not so much that Raphinha's their talisman, but he's just so greedy and lively that it's just difficult for him not to score points. And Leeds are still good enough, and they press still very well to the point where they're gonna get at least a couple of chances a game. So you could probably get away with not owning a Leeds player, but at the same time, I don't think I would want to.
So the question that is basically saying, are we overrating Leeds players? I don't think there's an S on that word. It's not plural. In last season, we all had maybe 2, maybe 3. We were looking at the defence. The defence is a steer clear. Bamford's injured. Rodrigo's not really doing it. Harrison's not doing it. So it's only Raphinha, to be honest. And as you say, he's electric. So I think he's well worth keeping.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a shame. I think Dan James saved me a bit, because otherwise, well, saved a lot of us maybe, because otherwise we might have started looking at like doubling up with Jack Harrison, for example. But yeah, I think for me as well.
A couple of weeks ago, before we knew that they weren't playing very well.
Say that again?
Do you mean like they saved you from getting Harrison in a couple of weeks ago?
The fact they signed Dan James means Jack Harrison's minutes are a bit more at risk. So I haven't gone for the double up, because otherwise I think their fixtures, you know, about 3 weeks ago, I think it started with that Newcastle run when a lot of people got Bamford. That was the kind of time you could have like doubled or tripled up on Leeds. But I think that time's gone. I think Raphinha, that's it, done.
Would you? I get a lot of people obviously, and the question includes: would you hold or would you hold him or sell him? And I don't think anyone would sell him. But if you didn't have him, would you want him in? Would you want to buy Raphinha?
Yeah.
Both of you. All right, I'll do it. Jesus.
This is Jay Waz's question, not yours. All right.
No, I know. Well, the second bit was mine.
Yeah, I think that. Yeah, I didn't even think I'd think twice about it. Like when I didn't have him, I was nervous. I've sold a lot of players who were injured, etc. But Raphinha was not one that I wanted to get rid of, and I felt relief when I actually got him in.
Yeah.
And him scoring like for Brazil as well, just that's the icing on top. Even though it didn't get us any FPL points. So we got a question. The question from Mark was basically, will Ole pull out his usual top 4 defensive masterclass against Salah and Liverpool, or will the United home crowd get on the players' backs and make things easy for Liverpool? Should we turn this into a score prediction?
Yeah, do it. Oh, I love that.
That's the best way, because I'm going to go 2-0 Liverpool in this one. Jossy might be biased, but
that's good though. That means he's going to go conservative. No. All right. I'm going to go with 2 each. Yeah, I'm going to go with 2 each.
Wow.
Yeah. Because you guys both went for 2-0 and 3-0, so I might as well go for a different kind of.
You have to go for what you think.
I genuinely think that they'll let in a stupid goal. Maybe 3-1 then, if you guys hadn't said anything. Yeah, probably 3-1. But I would bet against you guys both being like the clean sheet thing. Like I think they'll be so up for it and so attacking. I can see them like Cristiano Ronaldo slipping in there. I would never bet against him scoring, and he'll definitely start now against Liverpool.
Fair enough. We got a question from FPL Soccer Crazy. He's asking about Jota. Obviously, I guess John, if you can answer this one, like what would you want Jota if you had him?
I think it depends what other fires you've got in your team. If the rest of your squad is solid and you're happy and you don't have any issues, then I think I'd be selling Jota this week.
Yeah.
Firmino, I just got a feeling he'll play United. That front three looked so good the other day. Big game against United. I think he plays Firmino. Jota will get minutes, but if you've got no other fires, I think it's probably time to move on.
It's such a shame because people have been so unlucky with Jota. Like I couldn't get to Jota because of my team structure.
Yeah, me and John. Yeah. It's been a shame.
But I know how lucky I've been. Like what Firmino did there could have happened, several weeks for Jota.
Yeah, it should have. There's been so many Mane misses as well.
Jota really damaged the effectiveness of my wildcard, I think, in game week 4. I wildcarded to bring in essentially Jota, Calvert-Lewin, Torres. Calvert-Lewin got injured before he kicked the ball.
Are you me? I had all 3 of those players in my wildcard. Oh, it's been horrible, isn't it? It's been horrible.
Yeah.
But I'm very happy to not have him anymore because that was a headache. And if I still had him, I'd take a hit to get him out because that's how annoying he was for me. And I did that. So it's not like I'm telling you to do something I wouldn't do. No, he was part of a massive overhaul.
So we've got, I think we'll do one more question then when we move on to our teams.
Yeah.
So question from FPL Feral. This question is quite interesting. So is it time to shift the second premium in our squads from up front to midfield? Having a spot for Mane, KDB or Son seems the next step. Moving away from Lukaku, Ronaldo, is this a viable option? So I guess, I know, John, you've already said you never fancied premium in the first place. But would it be more tempting if it was 2 midfielders and a striker, or does the same apply?
I think if it's Son, it's a little bit more manageable because it's not 3 players who are all 12 million quid or more. Touching on Mane, I love Mane. He's a great pick. But the problem I have with having 2 circa 12 million pound players is I want captaincy options. And I don't want to be choosing between Salah and Mane captaincy every week. So
great point.
That's what puts me off Mane.
Yeah.
KDB, a great shout. I mean, if anyone's got him in recently, that's a great idea. But yeah, I think it's more doable if it's Son.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think you're absolutely right in that like the 10.5 million mark is so much easier to get to, and really the only way that I could feasibly see myself doing the KDB thing would be if you lose Trent, because it's so hard to have like a proper decent midfield then also have Trent and a Cancelo and a Chilwell or whatever. The 1.5 million, I found that in Trent, and it is a difficult decision because KDB is obviously not going to be 100% nailed yet or anything like that. It's a big punt, but yeah.
I think it's like 2 risks, isn't it? Because you're risking not having Trent, first of all, who's always going to be highly owned, but then you're obviously risking a very expensive Man City midfielder.
Yeah, I can't.
While I like it.
Sorry, go for it.
I'm also yet to be convinced that KDB has the same output that he did a year or so ago when he was like tearing up the league. Time will tell. He's had a few injuries. Yeah. Scored a cracker at the weekend, so
it's hard to.
It's a very good punt.
It's hard to punt on him now. They had 3 really good games, and now they only have 2. And it might take you 2 transfers, so that would be a hit. You know what I mean? Like we're starting to get to the point where maybe you only get him in for the next game week, not this one coming, which is then you've only got 1 game with him, and then he's got kind of iffy. So it makes more sense not to do it, which is actually why I did it, because I figured that if he's going to do well, then not many people are going to jump on him, and I'll have him for all 3 games. It'll be really difficult unless you're on Wildcard, which a lot of people now don't have anymore. Having said that, 2 free transfers, KDB and Cancelo to Trent and Son, can happen in 4 game weeks or whatever.
Can reverse it.
Easy peasy.
And it's like we talked about before, it's very hard for people. If you've got KDB and your rivals don't, and he does well, it's hard for them to get to it.
Yeah.
Obviously, again, when he lost penalties, because he doesn't seem to want them at all. That was quite a big thing for him because he was scoring quite a few. It was a bit like Bruno, where he'd get a penalty and your 10 points banked.
Do you think he
has them on top?
Do you think he has them if Mahrez isn't playing though?
I don't think he wants them.
No.
The impression I get. I mean, obviously
No,
it's just speculation, but
It's
yeah.
so weird. Who doesn't want to score more goals?
He cares about assists. I'm sure he's deliberately not scored before to bump up his assist rate, you know, to break a record or something.
I don't mind. See if he scores 4 assists instead of a goal. I'm happy with that. Just get me something. But yeah, in terms of the actual question itself, obviously I've went for 3 expensive players, but it is really difficult to do, especially when there's so many awesome, easy, cheap players that are doing just as well.
What I would say, kind of twisting the question a little bit, rather than is it the time, when we do want to get off Lukaku in 3 weeks' time, maybe, really viable to maybe think about just going to 2 midfielders, maybe go, who you go up front then, the Jimenez's and maybe Fabinho.
Maybe. That's going to be hard.
We might have Calvert-Lewin might be back, who you touched on earlier as well. So yeah, I could see that actually. You know, Lukaku right down to someone and then bumping up the midfield. I think Ferrell's still got his wild card, so I guess he can gamble a little bit more. I mean, obviously something I wanted to do a few weeks ago was get Mane, but it's difficult, isn't it? It's difficult when you like John said about the captaincy. Never actually going to captain Mane over Salah. Unless you're gambling on something like you're trying to win a manager of the month in the mini league or something. That's the only time I could see I'll do something like that.
Yeah, I think the Mane thing is a short-term punt anyway, right? Like you do it for the best fixtures where you want to double up, and then you'll probably move him out rather quickly. So you're not really looking to captain anyone else other than Salah anyway. So it's not like you're gonna, you know, I want KDB because I want to have the option between Salah and KDB. But if Salah and Mane have the best fixtures, it's going to be Salah. But then you also get the added bonus of having a nailed on Liverpool.
I could see there being a time when we might want for 2 or 3 weeks that opportunity might arise where we have Salah, Mane, and Trent, and you just hope Liverpool go wild.
Yeah,
you know, because I think that happened, didn't it, with the double game week where some people got a 1 point triple captain when Mane got injured, but. I didn't know that, but that was the time when we had. But they weren't as. I don't think Mane was as expensive then.
I think he was 11, but he went up a little bit. I'm sure. In game week 22, they played Brentford, Crystal Palace, Leicester, Burnley, and Norwich. Before then, they've got like a little tiny, Wolves, Villa, Newcastle, but Wolves isn't the best. So yeah, I think the time has passed, unfortunately, for Mane.
I did look at a couple of wildcard drafts with both, and I've actually changed my mind on it. Like, I think it's better. You have to sacrifice quite a lot to do it.
Yeah.
I think, because John obviously mentioned Son, and I guess Vardy's in the same bracket. Like, I think it's just a bit easier to have a strong defence, and it depends what week you wildcard as well. Like, this week seems a very heavy week where Chelsea and City have got good fixtures, so you want to go bigger at the back. Maybe if you're wildcarding in a few weeks' time, you might look at something. A little bit different. Like the focus might not be on these Chelsea assets who get rotated.
Yeah, no, 100%. But also with the City thing, just keep in mind that they have an absolute diamond run. I think game week 16, 15, like they play. It's a sea of green basically. So it's not just these 3 or 4 fixtures that you've got that are decent in the next 6, but then after. And to be honest, Man United aren't even that.
KDB, you mean?
Yeah, KDB and Walker and like you said, big at the back,
the difference
right?
between KDB and Mane is KDB's got these assets like Foden, like who John's got, where they're a lot cheaper and he could actually match KDB.
That's true.
I don't think Mane's got someone who can match him at Liverpool.
Yeah, other than Salah, which we all have.
Jota's the one we thought might be able to.
I know it's Firmino.
But,
1,000,000%.
Let's get into our trap-tins then.
Yeah, let's do it. Oh, we're saving the best for. No offense, John or myself, but I really want to know his bloody wildcard.
I mean, I sent you it. You just couldn't be bothered to open it.
Couldn't be bothered. I was absolutely 100% not looking on purpose. All right, coming up. All right, John, this is your team in front of us here.
So this is my team, yeah. And as you can see, I've got a bunch of nice fixtures for my team this week. The only question mark was Rudiger. We believe he's back in training, so hopefully he's okay. I've got Livramento at home to Burnley and White at home to Villa on the bench, so I really don't think I need to do anything. As I said earlier, I was tempted if Ruda was going to miss out to jump on Chilwell, but it doesn't really feel like a sensible use of a free transfer to jump on Chilwell. So at the moment, boring as it may sound, I think I might be rolling this week, and I don't do that very often.
Interesting. Just for the listeners then, Sanchez in goals, Trent, Rudiger, Cancelo, Salah, Rafinha, Sarr, Foden, Antonio, Lukaku, and Tony with, as you said, Livramento, White, and Sissoko.
I really like this team.
It's a belter team. It's almost as if
Do you know the
wildcarded.
only thing I'd change is if you. I'm not saying do this as a transfer, by the way, but if you had Foster instead of Gunn, like it could actually be a wildcard team.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
I deliberately didn't take Foster because he was so highly owned. I didn't think he was going to get the starting position, and for the fear of him getting fire sold and losing 0.1.
To be fair, though, do you think he's getting it?
Plus, you'd have triple Watford.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't even notice that. Sarr and Sissoko.
Oh God,
that's
and
hilarious.
You block your fourth one.
That's hilarious. The thing with Foster is that like no one predicted that he would start. But also, he probably got a start because of the new manager, right? They jump in, they change everything about just in case.
He was the most likely to start of the 4.0s, wasn't he? Because he lost his place due to an injury last year.
Yeah.
But it was lucky. Like, I mean, I've got him. It was lucky. I mean, I've never used him, but it's a bit of a gift. Yeah. I think it's annoying though, because it's not one you're going to risk, is it? Where you're just going to have Foster and then another 4.0.
Are you going to keep him on your wildcard?
Say that again?
Are you going to keep him on your wildcard?
Foster as a backup, I think he's
Right.
But my point was, like, John's team, it looks like a wildcard team.
Oh yeah, 100%. When I've seen it,
it's just the backup goalkeeper, and maybe I mean Suzuki. At least he plays better than Billy Gilmore.
Yeah.
Oh, poor Billy. He's just putting up a shift.
Sartor and Bomo's an easy move in a week or so. I mean, it's half tempting this week, but I'm going to give Sarr a couple of games and see how he gets on.
Yeah.
Do you have money in the bank?
It's looking good. I have. If you give me a second, 1.1 million.
Bloody. Are you still? I can't believe we've gone the whole episode without asking you this. Are you still chasing price rises?
There is part of the argument that I bought Foden for Jota because it looked like there was going to be a 0.2 swing on the Friday night. But no, I would never do it just for the price move. But I was thinking to myself, if I'm going to do this move on Saturday morning and it's going to cost me 2.2 more, I'll be fuming. So I need to decide now, do I want this or not? And so I decided I wanted it and I jumped.
So you've taken it back a little bit.
But to answer your question, yeah, I have reined that in quite a lot. I mean, my team value is 100. I don't even know. I would have normally known off the top of my head. 102.4. That's really low for me.
That's I've really high. That's loads more than me.
I'd
and you had the same
like
wildcard.
103.5, 104 by now. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Any thoughts on Antonio?
Yeah, I mean, he didn't look great the other night. I'm holding him for now. He's on thin ice, to be honest. I'll see how it goes. The thing is, with strikers, they can go a few games without scoring. He could hit 2 or 3 on the bounce. We know he's got it in his locker. I mean, he very, very nearly scored when he won the corner.
Yeah.
That they scored from. So, yeah, for now, he's okay. But, yeah, he's probably one of the ones that's on thin ice.
Fair play. All right. So we're rolling, but we've got our eyes on Antonio and Sarr.
And the team looks good. So what about yours, Dave? I know you were asking about Antonio.
Thanks, boys.
Yeah, no worries.
It's normally a bad thing. I'll tell you what, because the last couple of weeks people have said my team looked good, and then I plummeted in rank. So there's some kind of curse.
Maybe you're just shite. All right, my team. Same keeper.
It was you that said it was good, Dave.
I did say it was good, but I've never said you were good. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. Oh, that was so harsh. Sanchez, Walker, Cancelo, Christensen, Benrahma, and Mbeumo, Salah, De Bruyne, Antonio, Lukaku, Armstrong, with Livramento and goal-scoring legend Cody on the bench. And then 2 nobody's. So my -8 was supposed to hold me for a week, so I'm probably definitely going to be rolling. At least 1 week before I start doing mental stuff again. My eyes are on Benrahma and Antonio as well. I've got both of them still, because of all the defensive transfers and strikers that have been injured. So I've just kind of left them, and they've not been doing too well, but at the same time, they're still highly owned. I'm not alone in having them and holding them. But I don't have Rafinha, which is the thing. And I might be able to get away with him playing Wolves, but, there's still quite a good couple of fixtures left in their run. And I don't know whether to bring him in or not. I'm probably going to roll just for the sake of it. But, yeah, I'm annoyed that I don't have Rafinha this week.
Are you nervous about Armstrong now?
Nah, every time someone doesn't play, Livramento comes off my bench and saves me. I've had like maybe 30 points off my bench, no joke, since the start of the season. It's been nuts. Cody's this week. Last week was Livramento. The week before that, I think I had 2 players off my bench that both scored. So I'm not too bothered. But if he doesn't start 2 games in a row, then I'll probably need to start getting nervous. Put it that way. But then it's an easy change to Tony, so it's not like
How much money have you got in the bank?
0.5. I was 0.1 away from getting Diaz instead of Walker, so I went with Walker instead because I didn't know what the other centre back was going to start.
I feel bad that I talked you into Armstrong.
You didn't really. No, he was the reason why we got Armstrong. Remember, was because I needed to do something. Everyone kept getting injured, and I needed to sort it until when did I get him in? I got him for Wolves.
You were going to get some Maximum, who. I mean, I think he scored 1 goal, but he's not looking like a great option now.
A goal and an assist. And I wouldn't have had enough money to do the -8 anyway. So Armstrong was cheap enough. It's only been 3 game weeks. He didn't score against Chelsea, fair enough. He didn't score against Wolves, fair enough. They're still a very defensive team. And he didn't play against Leeds. But the reason why I brought him in was for the, Burnley, Watford, Aston Villa, and Norwich. And that's week's coming up. So
I'd switch. I don't know if you agree, John, but I'd switch straight to Tony. Well, you can.
Just now?
Well, don't do it now. Wait till Friday.
No, I'm doing it right now. Hold on.
What?
No, I'm joking. What? So you would go Tony immediately against Leicester?
Actually, I don't know.
Armstrong versus Burnley.
You'd feel silly if Armstrong plays, but the thing is, like I mentioned with Redmond's form, unless they put Redmond on the wing, it's really. And then Ward-Prowse is back next week, so Ward-Prowse will then take penalties back from Armstrong, and that was only an assumption that he's on pens. So
yeah, I could roll this. If I roll this week, then that means I could bring in Rafinha and Tony next week for Armstrong and Benrahma.
That sounds good.
Those sound like decent transfers, and it also, what if Armstrong plays and stuff? Is it worth taking him out? I would rather have 2 transfers. Benrahma, Tottenham still haven't looked amazing, even though they did okay in the weekend. So I'm fine. I'm not really bothered about. This is the first season that I've played where I'm not bothered about prices at all. So I have been just letting people lose price and stuff, and it's not really been bothering me too much at all.
You can tell by the red flags on your bench.
Yeah, I just don't care. It hasn't really I avoided going Diaz even though he was benched. And it's not been a huge deal. Like Walker's fine. He's in the same boat as Diaz in my opinion. Christensen was a price saver and he's kind of done all right. So yeah, it's not too bad. But anyway, without further ado, Mr. Rich.
I mean, this might not be my final wildcard.
Of course
I've been
not.
Tinkering a lot in between my work calls.
It's only Monday. And
actually, it'll be a surprise when you pop it on the screen.
John got really close to the screen there too. He's like so excited. All right, read out for the people.
I've had a few variations. So at the moment, this uses all my money in the bank. So Sanchez and Foster in goal, same as I've got at the moment. Cancelo, Diaz, Azpilicueta, Trent, and Livramento.
Wow.
I'm not sure on the Chelsea defender, or if I'm going to have a Chelsea defender. I want to see, what wing backs play for Chelsea tomorrow night. Because something that messed me up last season was I had defenders who weren't nailed on, and that's what's messed me up the last few weeks as well. So I need to be a little bit careful. Midfield is Salah, Son, Rafinha, and Buemo, with Brownhill as a backup. Lukaku, Tony, and Brodger as well. He might be risky, but I don't want to have Scarlett. I think at least Brodger will get some minutes, and he'd probably be my first sub for a couple of weeks. So it's like a 4-4-2.
I can't believe my eyes. This is very similar to my team. Very, very similar to my team. And it's the exact same thing that happened. Yeah, so you've got two
How's it
City.
similar to your team?
A 2 City, a Chelsea, Livramento. The only difference is that I took away Trent for whoever, a wee rubbish person, because I wanted KDB over Son. So we've already talked about that. Rafinha and Buemo instead of Benrahma and Buemo. We've already talked about that. And then Armstrong, Tony, Lukaku's there, and the only difference is Antonio.
It's completely different to your team.
It's the exact same structure. It's the exact same setup, almost. And in 2 game weeks, I'm going to have 11 of your players. That's nuts. Oh, I'm feeling really happy about myself right now. But what a team. It's a great team.
It's a very good team. I like it. Yeah. Decent.
You have how much money in the back?
12, nothing.
12,
in the
18
back,
at the back. You have 26 million, not including Livramento.
Yeah, I mean, it would be a big
million.
4. Cancelo, Diaz, Azpilicueta, and Trent. I was really excited to get Livramento for only 4.2 because he's been a player where I've been watching his price go up, and I thought he'd gone up a little bit more than he had. And I knew I had to get on him. I'm just annoyed that Duffy's up to 4.4 now. The only thing that I might change is I'm torn between Vardy and Son.
So who would you go with instead of Son if you were to get...
Sarr. I don't want to lose Sarr either.
What would you do then? Would you go Vardy over Tony and then Son to like Saka or something? No, you wouldn't even have enough.
So I've got Sarr in my team still, like in my actual team. So I've got it for 6.1 or whatever it is. So he can come in for Brownhill, and then I'll just downgrade one of the defenders. So like Azpilicueta might become like a budget defender, basically.
Okay, so you would lose one at the back for Vardy.
Yeah, but I need to have a think about it. Like, this is pretty much the outline. Like, I'm definitely going to go Sanchez and Foster, Cancelo and Trent and Livramento, 100% nailed. Salah, Rafinha and Buemo nailed. I'm definitely having Lukaku and Tony.
Trent nailed, yeah.
Trent's nailed, yeah. Because the thing is, I looked at, you can do much better teams without Trent, but I'm going to want him back straight away. The fixtures aren't actually that bad.
What do you mean straight away? What does that mean? Straight away? Like, if you didn't have him
every single week, I'm going to watch Trent. Like, oh, I'd like to get Trent. I'd like to get Trent. I'd like to get Trent. And it's I don't want to be using my transfers on defenders anymore. That's what messed me up last season. That's what's been messing my transfers up the last few weeks.
What do you think, John?
I remember selling Trent because he had a blank, and the following week he had Leicester when Leicester were a title challenging side.
It's Boxing Day.
Yeah. And he proceeded to get 24 points.
Ooh.
I was devastated. I lost 300 grand on him, which that probably hit me more than the 24 points.
Well, the price.
I bet it did. I bet it did.
Yeah, he's terrifying. Not
I lost.
Sorry,
also, what I've been thinking is down the line, I might even want to get a second Liverpool defender. Like, not at the moment, but I might even look at Robertson or something, because the cheap midfielders, like, you can go without Son. You can just have cheap midfielders across the board, and you've almost got too much money. So one of the reasons I've got Son is because you, honestly, try a wild card. You almost have too much money.
It's because everyone's, I was going to say died again. You know, like when I say that, everyone that we were spending 8 million on up front is now no longer an option. Like DCL, Bamford, Antonio.
See, Antonio, actually, he's one I probably should consider a little bit more.
Have you still got him in your team? Oh no, you didn't have him to begin with. Yeah, okay. So,
but I mean, it's not been a disaster selling him. I think he scored once since his injury.
Oh no, of course. Like it's just been good fortune. Yeah. But the thing here is that you've got Tony and Broja and zero money. Like if any one of those guys comes back, it's who you getting rid of first if you want them. Like
again, sorry.
Where are you getting your money from? Are you going to sell Son?
For what?
For anyone else, say someone comes in that's absolutely smashing it. I don't know, Robertson or DCL, whoever. Where are you getting your money from? Because Son is obviously an early punt that you're getting in for a specific game week, which is in the future.
Son I probably want from game week 12 more than now. But look, I'm assuming Lukaku It might not happen, but Lukaku might be one that comes down. Son could be one that comes down. The defenders can come down.
Don't kid yourself, mate. You're not bringing Lukaku down anywhere. You're getting Kane.
I
You're
don't know.
moving Kane into your team as soon as
Well, yeah,
as soon as his
Lukaku might go
fixtures
to
go.
Kane. This is actually been something that's on my mind as well. But then if I go for Son, it's not as desperate to get Kane.
Okay. So you're gonna save you from yourself.
I'm also trying not to think too far ahead. And Broja, like, I don't know if he's going to be nailed. Like, he will be my first sub for a while. But then if he becomes nailed, like, I've got him at the lowest possible price.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, this might not be my team. This might not be my final team. This is you know what it's like when you're wildcard, and this was like the latest team when I put this on the schedule.
Yeah. Of course.
So should we wrap things up?
Yeah, kind of. I want to look at this team a bit more. I'm excited to what your final thing is.
I've sent it to your email, so you can just look at it all night.
Is there anyone before we wrap up? Is there anyone that you really want a wild card but you haven't got here, other than Antonio, which you mentioned?
See, Vardy against Son.
Right.
But I don't know if I want Vardy that much. I had him a lot last season, didn't I? And he did all right some weeks.
It's crazy how confident you are. Like, usually when I'm wildcarding, and John, I don't know if you're the same, but like, I'm always like, there's like 6 different 50-50s that are going on in my mind. Yeah. And all you've really got is like, oh, is it Vardy or Son? And that's pretty good. That means that your whole back line's nailed pretty much.
Sarr is one, actually.
Oh, well, I feel like you're just saying that now that I said that.
No, because he's one I got money tied up in. So it's like if I come off him,
so
like it's annoying, isn't it? I bought him for 6. He's now gone up to 6.3. Like I can sell for 6.1.
He was always this is where it comes to roost though, where you bought in loads of different players with the words, but I've still got my wild card. But now you're using your wild card, so there's a lot of those players that you have in your teamers now.
Yeah. I'm not using it for anything exciting. I'm just basically just fixing it. It's just restarting the team.
That's what it's there for, man.
I'm not really attacking any fixture swings. Some of these players went up last week and I didn't jump on. But the main reason I'm doing it, I can get Brentford players in as well. Like I would like a third Brentford player. Like if I have like a 3 at the back, I'll get a Brentford cheapie in like Rico Henry.
Yeah, Ayer or something, a wee defender. Potentially. But anyway, All right, cool. So thank you very much, everyone, for tuning in and watching. John, thank you so much, mate, for hanging out with us as well. You've been amazing. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Is there anything you would like to plug before we finish up?
Not particularly. You can find me at FPL Jossy on Twitter, and I do my FPL planner there on the hub. Yeah, come say hello. Give me a follow.
Amazing.
Yeah. Jossy's spreadsheet is incredible, like absolutely incredible. I'm awful at spreadsheets. I'm actually trying to learn pivot tables, and if it wasn't so late where you are, I'd have a couple of questions for you, but it can wait.
Perfect.
Thank you so much for coming on, John.
Always a pleasure.
All right.
Cheers for having me, lads.
And just one last thing for you, Rich.
Up the pod.
John.
Up the pod.
Up the pod, guys. See you in a bit. Thanks for watching. Bye.
See ya.